Hi, welcome or welcome back to Through Nikki's Lens. So I am Nikki and I'm here with one more video for you today. Did you know that if you get your work experience evidence, your proof of work experience wrong, that is detrimental to your permanent residency application? I want to talk to you about one of the most important things that you need to get right for your permanent residency application, and that is your letter of employment, your proof of work experience, current work experience, and previous work experience for your jobs that you will include in your Express Entry profile for points. I want to talk to you about several points. One of them being the importance of getting your letter of work experience correct. I want to talk to you about the various points that you need to have included in those letters to ensure that you meet the requirements for IRCC and that you will not have any issues with your application if your letters are not correct, your letters are not very detailed. I want to also discuss some of the things that you need to take into consideration, such as some additional documentation that you can add to your letters, or that combined document that you would put in that space for your work experience to prove that you have the number of hours that you say that you have. You're working part-time, you're working full-time, or whatever the case may be. I want to show you examples of well-written letters. One example of a well-written letter, an outline of the various things that you need to cover. I want to talk to you about the best practices to ensure that you get the correct letter, and direct you to IRCC's website that will give you information on what constitutes a complete and a good letter of your work experience. So let's get into the video. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight, as I said, the importance of your proof of work experience. So if you have your Express Entry profile, you would have gotten points for your work experience that you put in. Always remember that only work experience that are in high skill jobs, so knock 0 to 3, so that's 0, 1, 2, and 3 that are considered as high skill jobs that you will get points for. Note that there is a period of time that, based on the program, if it's federal skilled worker or Canadian experience class, that there's a period of time that you will get points for work experience. So note those information and include only those jobs that you claim points for in your Express Entry profile. And it is when you get to the point of getting an invitation to apply for PR that you will need to submit the proof of work experience. Regardless of this fact, you can start gathering your document as soon as possible, especially if it is for previous work experience. So the previous work experience it doesn't matter what date is on that letter from your previous employer. Your current work experience, however, it has to be as current as possible, so as close to the point of submitting your application for your permanent residency to IRCC, you can get that letter for your current work experience. All right, so we are on IRCC's website, and I'll put the link in the description so that you can get to this page that I am on. So I navigated to the section that says proof of work experience, and it highlights the purpose, which is to prove each work experience claim and to validate that the applicant meets the program requirements. The following documents are mandatory for each work experience declared. So you have 4 work experiences that you noted in your Express Entry profile. You will need 4 letters. If they're in the same company, that can be combined, but you need to be careful and ensure that you outline the necessary information for each of your work experience in that one letter. So it says the following documents are mandatory, right? So they're not optional, they're mandatory. So you need a reference or experience letter from your employer, which should be an official document printed on a company letterhead. Further in this video, I will demonstrate and give you an example, show you an example of a letter. Obviously, the information will be, personal information will be blotted out so that it doesn't violate anyone's privacy. So it should be on a company's letterhead and include the applicant's name, your full name, the company's contact information to include the address, the telephone number, and email address. And these should be official information, not somebody's personal cell phone number, not a Gmail account or whatever it is, official information. So the name and title, as well as the signature of the immediate supervisor or the personnel or HR person at the company. So your immediate supervisor, it could be your HR manager, whoever it is that has authorization to provide this or validate this information. It should indicate all positions held while employed at the company and must include the following details. Must. That is your job title, the duties and responsibilities listed exactly as how they would have been listed on your job description, and they should not be like tailored or anything like that. Your job status, if it is a current job or you are a previous employee, the dates that you worked for the company. So if you started in the company on May 1 of 2023, it should state that date as the date from when, and the if you're currently working in the role to present, or if you left that job, you would put the exact date when you left and not just a month and a year. The number of hours worked per week. So if it's part-time, it would have that part-time hours. If it's full-time, it would be 30 hours or more. And the annual salary plus whatever benefits. They don't have to go in details and list out every single benefit, but put as much information as possible. So if the applicant is self-employed, articles of incorporation or other evidence of business ownership, evidence of self-employment income, and documentation from third-party individuals indicating the service provided along with payment details. So if you're self-employed, you need to have more evidence. If the work experience is in Canada, this is important. And I did this for the application that we submitted for my husband. So if your work experience is in Canada, you need to show additional evidence. So proof may include copies of your T4 tax information slip to show that your employer paid over or deducted taxes from your salary and paid them over to CRA, and your notice of assessment issued by CRA. What you can do as well is to block out your information, including your SIN. So the time period of these documents should reflect your work experience time frame. Example, work experience from 2006 to 2008 requires only documents from those calendar years. Who must submit this documentation? The principal applicant, the main applicant, and the spouse or common law partner, only if your work experience is in Canada and you claimed that work experience. So for your spouse, if they worked in their home country, so their foreign work experience, they don't need these evidence or proof of work experience. If it is that they're not claiming any, or if they don't have enough work experience in Canada, then they do not have to put that there. So if the work experience is claimed for the spouse, remember that this information is crucial. As I mentioned in the opening of the video, if you do not get your proof of work experience right, you can have issues. So there have been experiences of persons that might have requested a letter from their employer and the letter is not detailed. What a tip, and I'm going into one of the tips right now. A tip to prevent or minimize the occurrence of your proof of work experience not being adequate for based on what IRCC requires is to send maybe copy, and I did this for one of my previous employers. I copied the information included, so from this line that says the following documents are mandatory, copy everything that a reference letter and tells what the reference letter should have there, or you can list them as in points so that the employer that is doing the letter knows exactly what should be included in the letter. If you don't do your letter well, it can make the difference and your application can be rejected. Do not let IRCC ask you for additional information because it can slow down the processing of your application and they may also reject your application. Not everyone will go the extra step. As far as I know, not every officer will take the extra step and ask you for additional documents. So get it right from the get-go. We have gone through several points in the video already, and I have more for you. But I want to ask you to pause for a minute. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, this is the opportunity to hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notification bell, that when I post another video, you can be one of the first persons to get that notification. If you find value in this video, you feel that it might be helpful to somebody else, share this video. Share it with somebody, like the video. Do not forget to like the video. And comment, ask a question if you have a question, and I'll be more than happy to answer. Okay, I want to walk you now through a sample of a reference letter. So this is like a skeleton of what you need to ensure that goes in your reference letter. The letterhead should be at the top so that your company, so this is not something that you should really worry about. Your company should have a letterhead. So just be sure that it is an official, a formal letter on the company's letterhead with all the details that are necessary. So the name of the company, the contact information, so the telephone number, as I mentioned earlier, the email address, and ensure that this is correct and up to date. So just an outline. So at the top, it says place on company letterhead. So the letterhead should be at the top and you should have the date when the letter is written. And you're addressing the letter to an organization, which is Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, because it's for the purpose of your permanent residency application. So get that information and include it at the top. And then it's a letter, so you're addressing the letter, dear sir, madam, and what the letter is about, employment reference letter, and the applicant's name, which is your name, or whoever the application is for. Let me not say your name. All right, so the letter is basically saying, please be advised that, and the name of the applicant, the full person's full name, has been employed with our company from, and you indicate the date, which is the day, the month, and the year, to present, or this is if it's your current job, or to whichever date that you left the job. He or she, whoever the person is currently or was employed as, and you put your exact job title. Don't get it mixed up and put the job title or the title for the not code that you selected for this work experience to say this is the job. Do not do that, but put the exact job title as you got it on your offer letter or whatever it is when you were employed. If it is that your job title changed, you would put that information. So the job title that you're making reference to in this letter with our company. The duties associated with this position include, and the duties are listed, 1 to however many duties that you cover. And while working in the position, the name of the applicant worked however number of hours per week. He or she, or his or her rather, annual salary is or was, and you indicate the salary, the annual salary, and they can put another line to say that their benefits included X, Y, and Z. The next paragraph, if you have any further questions regarding the applicant, the applicant's employment with our company, please do not hesitate to contact me directly, and the full contact details should be there for the person that will be signing this letter. So the person's phone number, their email address, maybe a cell phone number, whatever it is that will get them in contact with this employer if they need to. Sincerely, and the person signs it, put their name and their position. Now I want to show you an actual letter and with the personal details blocked out. And for full disclosure, I mentioned in previous videos that I subscribe to an express entry course, and it's a DIY, do it yourself express entry course that teaches you how to do your own express entry profile and your express entry application for permanent residency. And these documents were a part of it. So I'm just using it. And if it is that you're interested, what I can do is to link the information for the immigration lawyer. It's Mark Holthe, and he's with Holthe Immigration Law Firm, and he does the course under Canadian Immigration Institute. So let's move on to the next letter. Now here we have the actual letter. Again, this letter was taken from the DIY immigration course that I did. So you see well, this is the letterhead. So right over here, they would have covered the letterhead in the information pertaining to this employer. And they're just showing you that they listed the address and so forth. And this was in the UK. So the date has been blocked out and the year was 2022. And the letter says to whom it may concern. And it's the subject employment reference letter. So it simply says that this letter is to certify that, and the person's name is covered, has worked in, and that's the name of the company limited, in the position of research analyst from, and the month and the day has been covered, and the year was 2016 to 2017 month and year blocked out in a full-time capacity in, and I assume this would be the name of the company, and where it was, which is Ethiopia. His main duties and responsibilities were, and they listed all the main duties and responsibilities, which include managing a portfolio of local companies. And then another one would be examining and analyzing financial and investment information, communicating with portfolio companies, preparing company information and economic outlooks, and so forth. So the letter goes on to page 2. The letterhead is right here again at the top. And it says that annual gross salary was US dollars, and they blocked out the amount, a monthly salary of, and he was entitled, so the gross salary was highlighted and then what the monthly salary was, and he was entitled with stock options and a medical insurance allowance. His official hours of work was 40 hours per week. Feel free to reach out for further information. And the person's signature was there, the date, the name of the person. So this person's designation or title is Chief Executive Officer. Their email address is also included. So here we are, a very simple letter. Very simple, to the point, not too much fluff, giving exactly what was required. And if you compare what this letter is to the requirements of IRCC in their website, what I presented on earlier to show what the letter should include, you would have noticed that it covers every single thing that they asked for. And this letter would, in my view, be a perfect example that can be utilized to ensure that there are no issues with your evidence, your proof of work experience that you claimed points for. I wanted to highlight some tips in relation to the proof of work experience. Some things that you need to ensure that you do, some things you can do, which are optional, and some things that you should not do. There are certain proof that can be utilized to help your application in relation to your proof of work experience. So you can utilize your reference letter, you can utilize a contract that you got or an offer letter that you got when it is that you got the job offer, and you can use pay stubs and tax documents. A major thing that you should remember is to request your documents well in advance. So in the video earlier, I stated if it is that you're no longer working in an organization and you utilize that job in your work experience, you can go ahead in advance and request that letter, because the letter or the date on the letter does not matter if it's your previous work experience. When you are making that request, you can help yourself and prevent the back and forth and clarifications. So that leads me to another tip. Include a sample of what you would like your letter to look like, the information that you would like to be included in your letter of work experience, especially since IRCC's website outlines what it is that you need to ensure that is included in your letter. So you can make a list, as I mentioned before, and send that list in your request to your employer, previous employer, current employer. These are the things that should be included in the letter. The best thing to do is to send them a sample so that they know exactly what they should have in your letter. And that will prevent, as I said, the back and forth and making requests for them to make corrections and preventing delays that may impact you negatively depending on the time that you have to submit your application. There are instances that you might not be able to get a letter from your former employer. So there are certain things that you can do. As I mentioned before, you can use your offer letter that you got from your organization. You can utilize your employment contract and just make sure that you make a request, you have it in writing, you sent an email. And what you can do to help this application is to simply ensure that you write a letter of explanation and to explain to the immigration officer that you are unable to get that letter, but do not stop there. You have to provide something. So what I always do, and my husband sometimes might say I like to store junk, I keep every single letter that I got from a job that I ever had. So that letter that they said that you have been offered this job, you can utilize that. That generally should have a job description or something. Save your pay stubs, but do not include pay stubs for the entire 3 years or however long you worked in the company. You can put the first two, the middle two, and the last two pay stubs that you would have gotten before you left that job. Do whatever it is that you need to do to prove to IRCC that you have that work experience that you claim you have. It is your responsibility to prove that you do have the work experience that you put in your Express Entry profile and that you will in turn put in your Express Entry application. Remember, do not make the mistake and take this step, this aspect of your application lightly. If you cannot get a letter from your employer, one other thing that you can potentially do is to ask your supervisor that supervised you while you were working to give you a letter. Make every attempt to get a letter from your employer. If your organization is no longer in existence, they close down, you can probably utilize a former supervisor or somebody that can validate that you actually worked in the organization and you did the work that you are claiming that you actually did in that job. Find a co-worker as well. And those things are last resort. So ensure that you do everything that you can to get the actual letters from the employer. If not, you utilize other avenues to prove that you did work the experience and have the experience that you claim you have. And my final point to you is avoid incomplete letters, avoid letters giving inaccurate information. Incomplete letters will delay your application or may delay your application. Incomplete letters may also cause you to get a rejected permanent residency application. Inaccurate information can also be detrimental to you. I cannot stress enough the importance of accurate information for your express entry profile, for your permanent residency application. Every single document that you're submitting should have accurate details. This can work against you if you lie. It can work against you if you exclude information. So ensure that you do the right thing all the time. Thank you so much for making it through Nikki's Lens, and I'll see you in my next video.